Hey guys, this is Eric with PMC. Wanted to just quickly take this time to go over scorebooks. We want to provide all teams that are in our league a scorebook, right? And that's to track everything in the game: runs, players, substitutions, opposing lineups. So what does that look like, right? So we have an example that we want to show in the Scorebook 101 video. So let's go ahead and start. We have the visiting team in the V row, the home team in the H row, and then we have everyone in the lineup listed. Right now we're just going to do player 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. to provide an example in this video. So each player has a statistic, right, that we can label for every kick, whether that's first base, second base, a single, double, triple, home run, even walks, fielder's choices, sac flies. So, for example, what we're going to do is we're going to go through a little demo to see how it's tracked accordingly in a scorebook. So, here are the players that are listed in your team's kicking lineup, right? On the bottom, if you want to include subs, if you ever have substitutions, this is where you will write them down in case you need to insert them into the lineup here later on in the game. You also have an area here down where you can write the lineup for your team when you're giving it to the opposing captain to keep track of so they can keep track of your lineup, and the opposing captain should provide you the same so you can keep track of their lineup. We are tracking as the home team, right? So the visitor, any of this scorebook does not pertain to the opposing team, just to our team. So really, these rows are just to tally the runs that the visiting team makes. So we'll go ahead and just put down some random numbers to work with. Okay, so what matters now is home. I'm going to start out with players 1, 2, and 3, right? If player 1 gets a single, maybe a bunt to first, we're going to circle where it says 1B, okay? And one important thing when tracking a base runner is we are going to want to shade the diamond as closely as possible. So however many bases a player gets to, we are going to go ahead and fill that diamond, the edge of it, I should say. So if a base runner gets to first, we're just going to mark the bottom right corner of the diamond to track where the runner is. So that way, if a player later on is up, we know that this player is on base at the time of a player 5's kick, for example. So if a player gets all the way home, we can just really fill out the diamond. Really just emphasizes that the player got to first, was advanced to second, third, and then we just fill out this diamond to indicate a run, right? You want to have some fun with it? You just fill out the diamond like that. So when you're going back to track runs, you can count these filled out diamonds. Now say, how do I track runs kicked in? Well, if player 3 kicks a double, for example, we're just going to circle the double area. We'll shade it right here for the first half of this diamond. And in the bottom left corner of their stat area, we're just going to mark a tally, okay? That tally is going to indicate that that player has 1 run kicked in. Tracking outs is also very simple. If it's anything like a pop-up or a ground out, nobody else on base is advancing, we really just mark these outs as in the column, right? We write the number of the outs. So if it's the first out that player 5 gets for the lineup that inning, we'll write number 1 in the diamond. Player 6 gets out 2, advances nobody. We go ahead and write 2. And then for player 7, the same result, we'll just write 3. So this keeps track of who got out in the inning, who kicked the run in an inning, who scored in an inning, and what each base runner did to get on base, whether it's a single for player 1 or a double for player 3. Now, what happens next is we calculate the total amount of runs for an inning in this row next to the home. So if we have one filled out diamond, we just mark this with the number that correlates. So when we get to the ending 2 column, we just start with player 8 again, right? Do they get a single, a double, a triple, home run? Do they kick out, right? We could say 1, for example. But this is just implying where the second inning column is, that's where you would write the first statistic of the inning, because this is where the lineup starts in the second inning when the team is out. We want to track anything like walks, right? If a player is walked at all, there is a stat on the right side of the stat square where we can mark that they take a walk. So it's called BB, standing for base on balls, right? So we just circle BB. Doesn't imply that they got a hit, but it does imply that they got on base through discipline at the plate. So again, we will fill the diamond out as such. Now, in this inning, if player 9 only gets to third base, they don't score, we don't need to fill out the diamond. Again, we just need to mark that they got to third base. So it shows where they ended up. Okay? Base on ball, 3/4 of the diamond filled. So then when we lead all the way back up, wherever inning 2 ends, right, is where column 3 begins. So if player 3 is the third out in the second inning, it just means player 4 is where we would start for inning 3. And so on and so forth for innings 4, 5, and inning 6 come playoff night. Now, fielder's choices, it's always up to the discretion of who's keeping score, to be honest with you. Fielder's choice is really when a kicker is at the plate and advances another base runner, but does not advance the base runner, but that kicker remains safe at 1. So for example, if player 2 here in the third inning, okay, kicks a single, okay, and player 3, we'll just mark this as a fielder's choice. Player 2 doesn't get to 2 because that's where the force out is made. Player 3 will mark per the diamond getting to first base. We'll just mark it with the fielder's choice because in player 2, we don't mark that they advance to second. Rather, we just put down 1, indicating that that's the first out of the inning. If you wanted to do it for a sacrifice, we could also do it in the 4th inning, hypothetically. Say player 5 kicks a double, okay, to start off, and player 6 sacrifices up 1, okay? So you would still write number 1 here, but they're accredited with a sack, right? And player 5, we just go from the shading from 2 to 3. So that's how it would look like for a sacrifice, okay? Player 7, you could say, has another sacrifice, whether that could be a pop out at far out in second or even a fly out in right field, but you would just mark it for 2. And then since the runner here, player 5, scores, we fill out the diamond, and we mark here that on the sacrifice, the run was kicked in. So that gives a brief overview of how everything is tracked in basic 101 perspective. Again, we've gone over runs, we've gone over innings, we've gone over players in the kicking order, we've gone over substitutions, as well as capturing your lineup for your team to hand to the opposing team. So this was brought to you by PMC. Hope you guys use this in any way you like, but we're happy to provide these scorebooks to our teams to have a little bit more structure into how the games are managed from a strategy perspective. Thanks so much.